Let me just refresh. So let's say I want to start from here and see I want to access this first element. So let's say first element, I will say document dot get element or query selector. And I will go with the ID. So this ID of that is 1. Okay. Now we see what happened. What returned from this query selector is a reference to the object, and that object was assigned to this variable. This undefined because the assignment itself doesn't have a return. But the first element now refer to that first element in the list here. Okay. Now, what if I said first element dot first child? You see, it's text. Okay, and that would be because that's the only child of that element. Now, what if I said first element dot previous sibling? Now, see, where is the sibling? We don't see any siblings here, right? But there is that empty text. We open it, you will see that it's the empty line. Okay, so just be careful with that when you're navigating a tree. The first text is that empty line. Sometimes you can see some invisible characters but they have to be represented in the tree. Okay, but if I don't care about that and I want to skip the text and go to the elements right away, I can say previous element sibling. Now, this was the first element, right? So obviously, there's no previous, so that's why it returned none. Okay, but what if I said next? So let's start with the next element. Next sibling without element. So again, we don't see anything here. It seems like this is the next sibling, but actually there's an invisible line here. Okay, so if we want to skip that, we can use the next element sibling, and that will give us access to the next element in the list. All right. Now, what if I want to have access to the text? So when I first said the child here, it gave me the text that is that contains that text. Okay, now what if I want to change that and add the emphasis on the first word? Okay, so I want to add a HTML. So let's say eventually when we talk about events, you know, when you hover by the mouse over an element and then it turns change color or turns italic, we can do that by code, right? We'll talk about events in a bit. But how, like, that's definitely done by JavaScript, but how? Let's say I want to turn that first element here, or first words, into italic. So first I need to have access to the text itself. So let's say text. So I'm just gonna call it words. Okay, I want to only emphasize the first word. So what do I need to do? I need to split it. So it will come as a string, right? So I can use the word the function split. And I want to split it over the space. Oh, sorry. So the child gives you the node itself, right? I don't want the node itself. I want the node value. That is the string. So the string is the node value dot split, and I can split over the space. So words now is the array of words. Okay. Now, how can I create that extra? So I'm just gonna say let first word equal, and I'm gonna append the tag to it. So I want the emphasis plus words of 0. So that's the first word plus, and then close the tag. All right. Now I'm gonna try to do something, and I want to set that text. So I'm just gonna append that part to the other word and put it back as the inner text for the element. So let's say first element dot inner. I'm just gonna try with the inner text first so that we can see the difference. Okay, so that would be the first word after emphasis plus the plus space plus the second word. Okay, is that what we want? No, it's not what we want. So what happened when we say inner text, the text, it assumes that the entire string is not, there is no code inside. Okay, it ignores the code. Now, if we want the HTML code to be interpreted and treated as a code, we have to set that, it's the exact same string, but we have to put it in the inner HTML. Okay, now you see the fresh is emphasized now. Okay, now you can put this in a function, this code in a function, and link that function to the hover or mouse over event, and you get this animation effect. Okay, now you have to note something, that the original code was not changed. I changed that, and like, you know, the console is a sandbook, so you just use it to try out things. Okay, but if we look at the original code, it didn't change. So this is just a superficial thing to try out how the code's gonna work. But once you refresh, it goes back to the original code. Okay. All right, so any questions? All right. Now there are so many things that can be done. We are not, the focus of the course is not on this kind of things, but there are so many things that can be done to manipulate the document object model. One of them is to create elements by code and then add them also by code. Okay, so you can do that. This there will be one question in the review questions, so you can use these functions to append or introduce a new element to the document object model. All right, and we just had the hands on, so now we can take a break.